Not far away now from the big kick-off. It is the game of the weekend, so let's talk about it and do a preview of the big game of the weekend, Arsenal versus Manchester United. For all the fans out there that are Arsenal fans, you will know how big this game is. It's one that has been the talk of the Premier League for many years. It went through a bit of a lull period about 10 years ago, let's say, where it wasn't the game that defined the Premier League. It was still a big game for each of the fans of the two clubs, but it certainly wasn't the game that defined things. But now we're in a position now with both teams back on the up. Arsenal in a position tonight where realistically we must win. Already 5 points behind Manchester City, game in hand. It's early doors, yes, but it's a time in the season where you need to win and put in a strong performance. And it's a game that I would be worried about if I was a Man United fan as well as an Arsenal fan. And I think from the Arsenal fans' perspective, it's a danger game for us. Quickly, the fixture, it's one that has been storied over time. It was the fixture that effectively defined the Premier League from 1997 to around about 2005, 2006. It was at that point that Arsenal dropped off. Manchester United, not so much. They went toe-to-toe with Chelsea for a few years and then had a hat-trick of titles between 2007 and 2009. So it's all set up and ready to go. You know, my earliest memories of this fixture were back in the days of Thierry Henry scoring wonderful winning goals in 1999, brilliant volleys over the head of the Manchester United keeper and winning those games. So that's how big it is. It's a game that we talked about that defined the era. Arsenal winning the title at Old Trafford in 2002. Some of the huge battles that took place define this game, and for any Arsenal fan, they know how big this game is. So it's one that you're up for, you're very excited about, and that's what we all are. Preview-wise, I think from the Arsenal side, it's a huge game. As I mentioned before, it's almost a must-win. Both teams really need to go into this and put their best feet forward. Arsenal, if they're going to continue to be a title challenger, have to win the game at home. I think anything less than a win will be considered a bad result. I think United have every possibility of coming into the game and getting a draw, getting a win, doing something. They're a good team and always have been, and this is a fixture that they will lap up. They've had a bit of a strange start to the season, if we're going to talk about performances. I mean, they won last week versus Nottingham Forest. I didn't see the game, but from all accounts, we're a little bit lucky. I can't say they were blown off the park at Tottenham. I watched that game versus Tottenham, and, you know, in the first half, they could have easily been 2-0 up with a penalty and a Bruno Fernandes header. But in the end, they got run over in the second half, and the first game of the year was controversial as well against Wolves, losing 1-0. Wolves did, and they had a penalty shout in the last minute. So that was a bit of a strange one. However, they go into the game 2 wins out of 3, same as Arsenal. However, Arsenal with the extra point due to the draw at Fulham last week. A disappointing performance. We saw Manchester City swat aside Fulham last night 5-1. Difference being in a respect that you have Joao Palhinha, who didn't play for Fulham after his broken down move to Bayern Munich. However, it doesn't matter how you look at it. It's still a situation that they'll be very, very disappointed in, that they didn't go there and get more in that game up at Manchester City Fulham after playing so well last week at Arsenal. But Marco Silva, he's done well with that team, but let's not digress there. So Arsenal going to the game with the big news that looks like Thomas Partey's going to be out for a period of time now. Not sure how long, and it's very cryptic, very strange. It looks like the Ghanaian FA have put out a media release as part of their squad selection for the upcoming qualifiers, stating that he's not in the team. And he's not part of the squad due to an injury at club level. There's a lot of rumours and a lot of photos going around. The earlier reports were 3 months, and sometimes with these reports, people tend to say that they don't want to get too carried away with it, but they can be true, and that's what I'm worried about, that this might actually be true and that Thomas Partey is going to be out for a while. I think, you know, any team with him fully fit is better for it. The fact that he's been playing at right back, I don't think helps, but I think this will mean a reverting back to the back four that served Arsenal so well last season. But in midfield, what does that mean? Does Havertz play again alongside Ødegaard and Declan Rice? I think so. I think you'll see him again. I think Eddie starts up front, and I think you'll see Martinelli and Bukayo Saka as per normal. But Gabriel should come back into the team unless there's another strange decision about what happens at right back, or even a back three. Maybe with Kivior coming in. I know that sounds slightly strange, but with Partey out, it might be Kivior, Saliba, Ben White back three with Zinchenko as a wing back, Saka as a wing back, and then that leaves room for a few more in midfield. You know, perhaps with Jesus and Nketiah up front. I'm not sure how it's going to work. It could even be a 3-5, a 3-5-2. It could be a 3-4-2-1. Not sure what he'll do, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him not do what you would expect to be honest. I think we saw that. I don't think the responses were arrogant earlier in the week. I just think that they were him trying to say that we need to evolve, we need to be different, and that's why there's all sorts of different formations and tactics. And that's, for me, a strange one to understand on something that works so well, especially defensively. I think attacking-wise, teams work you out when they're trying to defend you. But when they're trying to attack a defence that's solid, why would you change that? I think that's the difference. That doesn't make any sense for me. You can change your attacking players to provide something different to a defence, but why would you change your defence if it works so well and teams couldn't get through you? That means they haven't figured you out. So it's a strange one. But I don't like the idea of Jorginho coming in tonight. I think it needs to remain with Declan Rice, Ødegaard, and maybe Fabio Vieira gets a start tonight. I'm not sure. I think Havertz will play though. I just think the way that Arteta's been talking, that defiance, and I think with a victory that will only feed into that narrative for him, that was the right move. So we'll see how it all pans out tonight. I think Arsenal will have enough. Manchester United, by all accounts, like I said, I've only seen one of their 3 games, but by all accounts, they haven't been good at all. I think Arsenal were resilient against Crystal Palace, disjointed against Nottingham Forest, and did enough to win the game versus Fulham in an electric spell in the second half. So I think Arsenal will just have enough. That's not being too biased. But look, put it this way, I think United are a dangerous team. They always are. And if they weren't at so many 6s and 7s at the back, Varane's out, Luke Shaw's out, they're missing some key players in the back line. So I think that's where they could be in a bit of trouble. It's going to be Harry Maguire or Lindelof that comes in. So that's where I think the problems will be for them. And we'll see how it all plays out. But big game, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, how it all went.